let these people get in. And hello, uh, this is the March 2026 general meeting of the Pennsylvania Forward Party. We thank you for joining us this evening, and we have a special guest tonight. Lesa Brackbill is current sitting elected, and she has recently written a book which is due to come out in a couple of days, I believe. And she is here to give a presentation on it, and uh, we can learn a lot from the topic of the book, actually. So, in our work here at Forward. So, without further ado, Lesa.
Hello, everybody. This is actually the first time I've presented about the book, but I knew there was not a friendlier group that I could practice on, so to speak. Can you see my slides? Okay. I'm trying to share through Canva, and I haven't done that before, so just want to make sure. Okay. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I am incredibly passionate about the core idea behind my upcoming book, which actually comes out in 11 days. And that is the need for a brighter blueprint for how we pursue advocacy and social change. So often we are told that advocacy is about making noise, and sometimes it is, but I actually believe that it's more about architecture and how we undesign, so to speak, the things that have been designed as barriers. And I know that everybody here is no stranger to the fact that things are not the way that they could be. So we're going to talk about why we need a brighter blueprint. So for those who don't know me, my name is Lesa Brackbill. I live in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I have a bachelor's degree in political science, a master's in strategic communication, and those are two degrees that at the time I had no idea that they were going to become a crucial part of my life as they have in the last decade. Today, I balance three roles that represent three very different facets of advocacy. So as a professional, I am the director of advocacy for a company called Patient Advocacy Strategies, and we work in the rare disease space. On the personal level, I am on the board for a nonprofit called Crab Connect. And then, as most of you know, I was elected last November to the school board in Derry Township as a Forward Independent. So right now, these three titles represent my work, but more importantly, they represent three different perspectives on how systems fail and how they can also be fixed. So no matter whether I am in a legislative hearing, a nonprofit boardroom, or at a school board meeting, I have found that the mechanics of making a difference are the same. If you ask my parents, they would tell you that I have been persuasive since birth. But I never anticipated that the last decade of my life would force me to master that persuasion, because I didn't just become an advocate, I had to re-engineer systems in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to kind of breeze through my personal story to get to the book, but this is important because this is where it all came from. I'm here today because of my daughter, Tori. In July of 2014, we began what we thought was a typical journey into parenthood. She was healthy, she was happy, and she was our entire world. But when she was 5 months old, our story took a turn that we never would have expected. A 6-week diagnostic odyssey followed, and after a blur of doctors and tests and fear, the results came back as a rare genetic condition called Krabbe disease. So our world didn't just change that day, it shattered because we found out that our 6-month-old daughter was dying. I realized then that I couldn't just be her mother. I had to now learn how to navigate a system that wasn't prepared for us. On diagnosis day, which was on Friday, the 13th of February, so that should have been an omen in and of itself, we sat in the office of the neurologist expecting a plan, but instead she gave us a death sentence. As I said, she told us that Tori was dying. There was nothing that we could do. But then she said the words that changed the trajectory of my entire life. She said, if you had caught it at birth, you could have treated it. I didn't know what that meant, but in that moment, I realized that Tori wasn't just a victim of a disease. She was a victim of a broken system. The blueprint for newborn screening in Pennsylvania was missing a vital bridge. And because the system hadn't looked for her condition at birth, she had fallen through a gap that didn't need to exist. It wasn't that a treatment didn't exist, it was that the system didn't deliver it in time. In that darkness of the first month, our grief was overwhelming. Our days were filled with endless medical appointments and the heavy reality of caring for a dying child. But in the middle of that rubble, we made a choice. We decided that Tori's story would not be defined by a disease, but instead by the love that we shared. We made the decisive choice to choose joy. I know it's saying choosing a lot in the same sentence. But we committed to giving her a lifetime of experiences in whatever time she had left. Looking back, that choice to choose joy became the foundation for everything that followed. We created a bucket list and we lived a lifetime of memories in just 14 months. But this wasn't just about fun, it was about resilience. Completing those 50 adventures gave us the strength to keep standing when everything felt heavy. It taught us that when you can't change the destination, you can change the way you travel the road. After Tori passed away on March 27th, 2016, the choice to choose joy evolved into a choice to take action. So I got to work pretty much immediately. My motivation wasn't complicated. I simply believe that dying is not a word that should ever be used to describe a child. My background in political science and communication was no longer just a matter of degrees. It became the engine I used to fight for newborn screening reform in Pennsylvania. I set out to ensure that no other parent would ever have to hear that their child's life was lost because of a pothole in the system. I wrote this in my first book, and so it feels weird to quote myself, but I feel like this still really describes my husband and I's mindset today, that the depth of my love for my daughter is not measured by the number of tears I have cried, but rather by the life I choose to live in her absence. And now I would add that in her absence, I choose to advocate with kindness, respect, humility, and a willingness to collaborate with and learn from others who know more than me. My advocacy journey didn't start with a blueprint, it started with a megaphone. Early on, I thought being loud and taking a partisan side was the only way to win. I also thought this would be a quick and easy endeavor, and I was very wrong. After 5 years and 3 grueling legislative attempts that were all derailed by partisanship, I had to unlearn everything that I thought I knew. I had to trade my partisan lens for a nonpartisan strategy, and this is where I began to see these 12 threads that I talk about in my book come together. The system didn't move because I was loud, but it actually moved because I changed. So on November 25th, 2020, during COVID, very proud of this, I got my bill from committee to the governor's desk in 2 months. And Act 133 was signed into law. But as anybody who's involved in this space knows, the signature is just the start. This is the part of the story where the work begins to become invisible. We didn't just pass a bill, we re-engineered the entire newborn screening system in Pennsylvania and paved a new road for every new family. After a 180-day implementation period, the system went live in May of 2021. To the outside world, it was just another day, but for every newborn in our state, the world had become safer. And this was the moment that my personal why became a public reality because the system was finally working, serving families who would never even know that we were there. I'm not going to go into what newborn screening is, but this is everything that the bill fixed. And I only identified all of these issues, these what I've kind of called potholes, which is very appropriate for Pennsylvania. These were all of the problems that were existing in our system. It wasn't just that they weren't screening for Krabbe disease. It was that it depended on which hospital you were born in, what you were screened for, and a whole bunch of other issues. So now Pennsylvania has the strongest newborn screening system in the entire country because of Tori. So why do we need a brighter blueprint? This book was the response to a single question that I was asked a few years ago as I prepared to speak at a conference. My friend asked me, what makes someone an effective advocate? And I thought, I actually don't know. So I started thinking about it and processing it, and that presentation became blog posts and social media posts, and then now this book. But first I had to define what I meant by advocacy, and I eventually came to this definition, that it's addressing struggles and refusing to let them go unnoticed. In my experience, I've seen time and time again, as I said before, that advocates that believe that being loud is enough, because that's where you tell your story and it's emotional and powerful. but performance isn't always progress. Instead of a shouting match, the brighter blueprint treats the mission like a tapestry. My book uses a weaving metaphor throughout, which is why there's the use of the word threads. Because if even one thread is weak, the whole fabric fails. We don't just need volume, we need depth and texture and a stronger system. And the other thing that we have to realize is that a lot of times these systems that we are trying to fight against aren't broken. They are performing exactly as they were designed. We see this all the time in the rare disease space with Medicaid and with all of these access barriers that we're trying to tear down. Sometimes these systems were intentionally designed this way, but that means that they can be redesigned. In Pennsylvania, as you know, we often joke that the state bird is the construction cone. But I like to use the word pothole as a universal grievance, because a pothole doesn't care about your party of your political affiliation. It just ruins your commute. It ruins everybody's commute. But in our culture, we are trained to chase skyscrapers, whether that is wealth or fame or whatever it might be. It also could be legislation that gets us in the news, which I know this sounds ironic because I did get in the news for all this, but there's a point. The skyscraper is alluring and glamorous and it's very visible. But something else that I've come to understand is it's complex. And complexity can be a form of gatekeeping because it makes us feel like people like us that are just ordinary citizens. It makes us feel like we're not enough. We're not enough to even try to walk in that door and fix something because we are just a parent or whatever the case may be. So I believe that if we want to make the world better, we have to shift our focus. And this definitely applies to the partisan landscape in the United States as well. We have to move beyond making monuments to our own advocacy and instead look at the friction in the system and frame it as a pothole, because then it becomes something we all have the responsibility to fix. Our success shouldn't be measured by the noise we make, but instead by how quiet and seamless we make the system for everybody else. While your neighbors might admire a skyscraper from a distance, if you even have them, we don't have them in Hershey, most of them will never walk through the doors, but every single one of them will feel the frustration of a repetitive pothole. So in advocacy, a pothole is something that is needlessly complex, whether it is reapplying every single year for your child's medical assistance for their disability that will never go away, whether it is a process that you're sitting there and you're like, this is really dumb. Whatever the pothole might be, they're universal and they affect so many people. And that's exactly what my law ended up fixing. People that will never know my name. They will never know my daughter's name. All they will know is that their child is given opportunity for treatment. And that is the whole point of weaving a stronger fabric. So when I first began to unravel the characteristics of an effective advocate, it felt like this. But slowly I identified color by color and I began to separate the pile. And ultimately, I discovered that advocacy is not just the work we perform, but it is the character that we cultivate. A standard blueprint is two-dimensional. It's a flat, cold drawing of a structure that doesn't exist yet. And for people like me, it's really hard to look at that blueprint and visualize what that is going to be. But a tapestry, a blanket, a rug, whatever you might be weaving, it has texture, it has color and warmth and a visible purpose. And that's where I came up with this metaphor, because so often, especially in rare disease advocacy, we have these black and white plans and step by step, this is what you do. But hardly ever do those plans go like they should. And so I realized that we needed something different, because we are not just advocates. Like I said, we are architects. We all have a role to play, no matter what that might be. And by solving puzzles together, it empowers us to prioritize principle over party, evidence over politics, and human outcomes above all else. So what are these threads? And this is where I struggled a little bit, because I was like, I don't want to tell them too much because then they won't read my book. So we'll see how this goes. I start out by talking about the need to maintain resilience. And depending on what your cause might be, it may not take resilience, but as we all know, fighting against partisanship in the United States is 100% going to require resilience. And so I talk about, how do you do that? How do you build the resilience and how do you maintain it? because burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a structural failure. So then I move into humility, which honestly is the most important one of all of the 12. It really kind of is the foundation of them all. If we are not humble, if we're not willing to admit that we don't know everything, it's not going to go well. And I learned that firsthand. So entering a room as a learner changes the power dynamic. It turns a gatekeeper into a teacher and eventually a partner. Bridging the divide. This is the one about nonpartisanship. Advocacy is not about winning a political argument. It's about solving a human problem. So this is the chapter I really, really hope that my very partisan friends and family members will read genuinely. Like, I hope they'll not skip it. Learning and unlearning. So don't just tell the stakeholders what you feel, show them what you know, but also be willing to unlearn when presented with new information. And I know we all have seen this happen so much, even in just the past 6 years, where they refuse to let go of their hard held beliefs, even if all the data and the science shows that they're wrong. Listen for the unspoken, which is also listen to understand. Because what I learned is that when I was told no, it was rarely a wall or a barrier. It was actually a clue. It was a diagnostic result. And that's what led me to figure out the things that I needed to fix. Of course, integrity goes into all of this, but even in our communication, it needs to be at the core because yeah, stories are powerful, but data is going to get us what we need, and we need to never exaggerate. We need to keep equity at the forefront of everything, especially when you're talking about rare disease advocacy like I do most of my days. And we need to design a system that works for everyone and not just the wealthy or the ones who happen to live in a city. I also have learned that effective advocacy is kind of a stone soup. I don't know if you remember reading that book as a kid. It's kind of a stone soup effort. We cannot do everything on our own as solo advocates. Again, lesson learned the hard way. We have to look for people who can contribute to the collective pot with skills and experiences that we don't have. So we have to be willing to collaborate and forge those alliances. Of course, again, ethics. We have to lead ethically. And so this chapter goes into all the different ways of all the different things we need to be aware of, including conflicts of interest and really combating misinformation. Sharing the credit. This has been a surprising one for me, especially in the rare disease space, where people like me are coming into this with grief and with a whole lot of anger, and they just want to keep the credit for themselves. But in reality, sharing the credit is what builds the legacy and makes it even stronger, because we're supposed to be about the mission and not the ego. The last two are act strategically, which of course we want to act, but sometimes it's not legislation that's needed. Sometimes it's just, like I said, fixing a checkbox on a form or changing a regulatory process that doesn't involve 5 years in the Pennsylvania legislature. So focusing on those low effort wins to build that momentum. And then finally, mastering the pivot. We have to be fluid, not even necessarily flexible. We have to be fluid in any sort of advocacy and be willing to not be married to the plan, but married to the outcome instead. So these are a few of the things that I've been using in my marketing, and these are the whys of why I wrote this, or like who the audience is. But I really wanted to just write this to encourage people to be the reason the next person doesn't need a megaphone because the system is already working. But also that none of us are crazy for thinking that it should be better or that it doesn't have to be this way, whatever it may be for you. And then, of course, for everyone who refuses to accept that this is just how it is. I think it's really easy to do that. But the one I love the most is this one for rare disease purposes. Weave for the families you haven't met yet. In rare disease advocacy, we rarely see the fruits of our labor and we almost never have the opportunity to meet them. And that's the way that it should be. We're working to fix a broken system so that no one suffers as we have. But last summer, I was given the greatest gift. Just 67 days after Act 133 went into effect, identical twins were born in Erie. I heard about them a month later because they had been diagnosed with Krabbe disease through newborn screening. The very same newborn screening we had spent 5 years fighting for. At the time, I didn't know their names, and I certainly never expected to meet them. But last summer, at a gathering of Krabbe disease families, I finally met Trevor and Brendan. And as I sat with their mom and dad and I shared how our stories were intertwined, we all cried. But the moment that caused those tears was when I revealed to them that the twins were born on my daughter's birthday. Our children shared a birthday, but with a starkly different outcome. And that is the Brighter Blueprint in action. I could not have asked for a better moment, and I will truly never forget that hug with the mom. The boys are doing extremely well. They were also the first two in the world to receive gene therapy for Krabbe disease, and they will be turning 5 this July. So to close, we often wait for a hero to fix the system, but the Brighter Blueprint proves that we are the ones that we have been waiting for. So if you want to move beyond the frustration of a broken system, which I know that you all do, and into the clarity of a functioning solution, I invite you to read A Brighter Blueprint. I do not say this because I'm going to make money, because authors honestly don't. We make very little money. I don't say that. I say it because I truly believe in these 12 threads, in these lessons that I have learned and researched, because I believe that we all can work together and weave something that doesn't just make a point, but that makes a difference. So thank you so much for letting me share about my book, and it comes out in 11 days.
Thank you, Lisa. Think I can speak for everyone here that you did a great job, and I will now let the attendees tonight ask you any questions that they might have. If there is any.
Yeah, can you leave a link for where we could buy your book? I'd be very interested in reading it.
Yes, I will put that in the chat. Right now it's just pre-order. I will tell you that buying it directly through my Etsy shop is the cheapest way to do it. And it is also the way to keep Amazon from getting more money. So I figured we'd all appreciate that.
So Lisa, your website there said for patient advocacy. Is it focused on the medical community, or is it more of a leadership kind of blueprint?
I would say that it is definitely broader, because I worked really hard to make it broader. It did start as just me writing actually to newborn screening advocates, and then I broadened it to rare disease advocates, and then I was like, no, like I see this in every aspect of my life, in my workplace, in my marriage, in being a mother. Like these 12 threads are so important. And I'm definitely like in the imposter syndrome phase of the book, though. Like, people are about to read this. But I do still believe in it. It's just like the little scary part. But I do believe that it has a relevance to everybody.
Thank you.
David.
Hi, Lisa. It's good to see you.
You too?
My question was also about the applicability of this more broadly. When you were advocating for newborn screening, it was something that I assume just about everybody was morally in favor of, and I assume most of the objections you got were more pragmatic or practical. So what do you think are the differences when someone's advocating for something that is more controversial, and how do your 12 threads apply to that?
That is a great question. I'm trying to find that part of the chapter. It's in the silver thread. So I write about actually the moment where I became nonpartisan, because it was actually when my second bill was dying and I didn't know why. And I went to the policy advisors up to the Speaker of the House's office, because I said the same thing. I'm like, no one is against newborn screening, or should be, if they understand what it is. Like, it literally saves 12,000 plus lives a year in the United States. Like, it's a good thing. And the policy advisor told me 14 words that seriously, in that moment, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with party politics. He said, your bill is dead. They don't want to give a Philly Democrat a win. And I literally just stood there like with my jaw dropped. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And so that goes to show that honestly, though I've heard things are a little bit better in the legislature right now, that they are more willing to work together. It may not matter what your cause is. If you are, I don't even know, because like I said, I think things are better now, but it's so easy for any issue to become opposed if you have the wrong sponsor for a bill or whatever the case may be. And so that's why I talk in here a lot about communicating clearly, leaving partisan language out of whatever you're saying. So I do believe all of these things, like I think in threads now. But you know, making sure that you have data that is unassailable. Like they cannot, well, they can, but they shouldn't be able to, you know, be against the data that you present, and just being really clear and respectful and kind and all those things. They really do help. But like I said, sometimes even the best bill will die because you had a Philly Democrat as a sponsor. So I don't know if that answered your question. But yes, all of these things, like I see it on the school board already. I see it in having 2 kids with special needs and me having to constantly be advocating for what they need. So I really do see this being useful.
Thank
I
you.
have no idea if that answered your question.
I'm still processing it.
Okay. It's been a
Rachel.
long.
Yeah, Lisa, thank you so much. You did a great job, and the book is really intriguing. So obviously the newborn screening and your personal story is amazing, but you did a really nice job of threading in like the system is working exactly as it's designed, and the tapestry and all of that. And it occurred to me, I do listen to like Andrew Yang's podcast every week, and he has really interesting guests. And he's an author, and maybe he could help you sell some books because you are forward independent. I don't know how to connect that dot, but he's on like a book tour right now, and you know the applicability, like you were saying about so many things we are trying to change that actually are working. To us they're broken, but no, they're working just fine. But we want
Yep.
to change, you know, the incentive structure. It's a lot of like this stuff that really does apply to forward. So I don't know, maybe we can make that happen.
And as I was learning these threads over the last 10 years, like I said, this is what led me to forward. Like when I first heard him talk about the idea, I was like, yes. That was one of the easiest yeses I've ever said. Because of these things. Like if we all, I can't market the book this way, but honestly, this is about being a better human. It
Yeah,
honestly
no,
is.
it comes through.
And I have not perfected these things. You can ask my family, but I am such a better human than I was 10 years ago. And I know that's made me a better advocate and obviously a better public servant now on the school board. And yeah, but I mean, if you want to try to make that happen, I would not say no, but
I don't have that ton of power, but it just occurs to me. We'll see what strings we can pull. What strings literally we can pull. But anyway,
literally,
we're happy
yes.
you're on our team.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I might die a little if that happened, but you know.
I
It's
think
not
I'm gonna
live, it's recorded.
think I'm gonna have some emails to make after this meeting. Robert.
Oh, great story, by the way. I'm Robert from Media Delco area, and so I was wondering if you had like a X account or something, like a Twitter account, something social media that you're big into, that maybe we could try to tag Andrew and see what he says in that regard. You know, using traditional means rather than regular Ford means, because I think sometimes if the like popular opinion may sway people's like attention, because you know I guess his book tour is probably it's probably a different kind of topic. I think his is like AI, like economics, and I mean yours is great, you know, the advocacy and the health and the testing. I think that's very important. And so yeah, so any of the X you could feel free to drop in the chat or something. And yeah, just wondering what kind of, I mean, genetic testing. It looks like the Krabby, it can be picked up, but there's so many genetic tests out there that without like, you know, some kind of uniformity or like a statewide mandate, like how do you know what to do? So I
Right, and
guess
obviously I
that's what
didn't
you.
dive into newborn screening, but it is the greatest, the most successful public health initiative we have in the entire United States, because nearly every baby is screened at birth. So that handles the equity aspect of it. Like, you don't have to be rich to afford whole genome sequencing. Like, it happens in the hospital 24 to 48 hours after birth. And if nothing is wrong, then the parents may not even, which we'll work on this too, but they may not even realize that it happened. So I've been working on the education side of this for years, but it literally saves lives. And that's why it is a state-run program. We used to have federal oversight, but they, canceled our committee last April.
Uh-oh.
Another
Oh,
RFK, wonderful move.
this administration, is that what you're, oh, ouch. Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
going all over the place. Well, I meant like like screening beforehand, like pre-birth.
Like-
What is that called?
Like,
I guess
we would
that's
love to have, carrier screening.
right.
Yeah, we would love to have all prospective parents do that, because you don't know. Everybody carries something.
Yeah,
Everybody
there's
does.
so many different tests though. It costs an arm and a leg to get.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to get all of them. Like it's like
Yeah.
it could be tens of thousands of dollars. Like, how do you
Yeah.
know to test all of them? So,
But
cheers.
to answer your
Thank you.
question about X, I actually got off of it when Elon bought it. So I don't have X, but I have been using, Meta, like Instagram and
Threads,
Facebook and
threads,
stuff
yeah.
to talk about all of this. But maybe I should get back on X. I just didn't.
I mean, that's up to you. I can't advocate like that. Brian's like, he's been on there. It's quite a mess, and you have to really,
Yeah.
you need a lot of patience for that one. Cheers.
Brian.
So you said that we have one of the best screening programs in the country in Pennsylvania. I just wondered if there are similar activists in other states trying to emulate Pennsylvania's.
In a
Maybe
way.
those would be people that would be interested in the book and the story.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I am definitely like I feel like the rare disease space is the easy one for me to get them interested. But again, I wanted to broaden this. But yes, we do have the top program in the country. We're screening for the most things. We can add a condition in 6 months, whereas other states take years. So we have it down. Like, it's so much better now. And this is such a niche thing. Like, I never dreamed I would become an expert in state newborn screening, but yeah, there's definitely efforts in other states to be better.
Yes. Thank you.
Like, Alaska actually uses Iowa for their lab. Don't know why, but they ship all of the blood spots to Iowa. So it's all those little complexities that I have hyper focused on for 10 years. And now I'm trying to use them through patient advocacy strategies to help other patient communities.
Thank
Yeah.
Just wanted to say I follow Lisa's author page on Facebook, and I admit I don't read everything, but I've seen some things there that I really appreciated. Hopefully someone might. I'll put the link to that in the chat.
Yeah, thank you.
And
I've been trying to not only talk about the book lately, but that's the hard part about selling a book too. You have to talk about it, and people are, I don't know. Oh, it's just weird. Being an author is weird, but I will say it, like I said, I do mention my own like lobbying experience and stuff, but I also bring in experiences that I've had around the world that taught me these lessons too. My favorite story is actually in the pink thread, where I talk about a woman in Haiti who I observed, and I have her picture blown up in the living room. And then I talk about my experience in Tunisia and how that taught me these different threads, and there's stories from Guatemala, and like, so it's not just about here's how you pass a law or here's how you try to change an entire political system, because we can't start there. As you all know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't see any other questions. So
I
thank you.
have one more question, if you don't mind. So Lisa, are you working in this vein exclusively with the Kreb disease and or are you trying to bring your message to the school board for other topics?
I am willing to take the message wherever I can. And yeah, all my fellow school board directors are very aware that a book is coming out. Because because I tell them about it. But yeah, I don't know. I do feel like hitting this 10-year milestone of losing our daughter is maybe just allowing me to also move into a new phase where I don't focus so much on the grief and the trauma and like, you know, because it's hard. It's hard to do this kind of work when you come at it from loss. And I think that's another way that this is becoming a brighter blueprint for me too, honestly. Like, let me shift this so I'm not constantly talking about my daughter's death. You know what I mean? Like, let me
Yeah.
give this gift.
Well, that was my question. Are you, something comes up at the school board and you're applying your own thought process to solving that problem in the school board, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we've already, even in my 4 months, only 4 months in office, we've already had some really interesting situations that we've had to deal with. And I've for sure recalled these. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And we do have other items to get to tonight, so I will start the slideshow. As fun as it always is. We just talked with Lesa Brackbill, and we do have a convention poll going on right now. This is to help us decide the venue and the date. So if you haven't already participated in this poll, please join the link down in the right-hand side of the slide and get your voice heard. There are 3 choices for venue. Indy Hall. This one is down in downtown Philly. The second one is Lulu's Shriners, a place that is a little bit outside of Philadelphia. And the third one is at Hyatt House, which is a hotel. So if you can, please participate in the poll and let us know what you think of these venues. And the second question you'll be answering is what date you think we should have it. We are utilizing ranked choice voting in these polls. The first date is July 18th, August 20th, or August 22nd, September 19th, and September 26th. Does anybody have any questions on this poll? Yes, Robert.
Well, just a quick aside for the venue. So the high place, there's not really a lunch restriction. It's just we have an option to use their catering, and then they would therefore refund us some money from the cost of the space. So right now we're gonna just whatever we want. So that part is at least for that part. And well, Indie Hall, don't worry about it. Other extraneous details don't matter, but just that aside.
Yeah, so we'll probably be closing that poll here either probably tomorrow morning and then using that to make our decision. And then hopefully we can get a date to you all so you know when we're having our convention this year. One of the things we're going to be voting for is a new secretary. The term for the secretary is up, so if you want to serve as the secretary, it is a position that you can put your name forward for. Robert, or is that from before?
That was from before. Sorry about that. Usually it picks it up. But...
Okay. on the calendar, there are two special elections going on tomorrow. PA 79 and PA 193. You can kind of see where they are in the two little pictures, but with the house so evenly divided, please make sure that if you are in those areas, that you go vote. PA 79 is in around the Altoona area, and 193 is just north of Gettysburg. So if you're in those areas, please vote. And also, PA 196 is of special importance to us. Our friend Ron Ruman is running for a special election in that one as a Ford Democrat, and we are continuing to support him in his endeavor there. So please vote for Ron if you live in his district and out in York County. So special elections are always important because they're wild cards. Unfortunately, it's impractical for us to run candidates ourselves in special elections because we would have to collect all the signatures for a regular seat for a regular election condensed down to about 2 weeks. So right now we have actually independents and third parties were just allowed to start collecting their signatures for the general election this year. And we have until August 1st to get all our signatures. So if you're interested in running as an independent, you have time to do so. And the only thing you need to do is make sure that you are registered as an independent 30 days prior to the primary and maintain that until the general election. But we are looking for candidates, as always, to run in the PA House. Couple of events on the national Ford calendar. The Asian American and Pacific Islander listening sessions are happening on the 18th this month. That's a couple of days away, 2 days away, at 8:30 p.m. There is also a event for recruiting new Fordists on April 8th at 7 p.m. and a welcome team training on April 15th. So if you want to help the National Party with their endeavors, please join us at those meetings as well. There are plenty of committees at the national level. So if you are one or more of those that apply to you, please check them out and get involved as in whatever way you think is best. We always have an opportunity for county leads. Please consider becoming one. You can help lead your county, and it helps grow the party by recruiting candidates and organizing local events and signature drives, and gives you a voice in the movement. Fundraising, national is actually, if you want to help us with our fundraising efforts. National is having a leadership meeting for fundraisers tomorrow. If you want to join that and help us build our fundraising efforts here in Pennsylvania, please contact the Pennsylvania Forward Party's email and get a link to that event for tomorrow. I will be joining that one myself. So, and it's always important because we can't fund the items like our convention and supporting our candidates unless we have without the resources to do so. Our next meeting is April 20th at 8 p.m. on Monday. Yeah, Monday, April 20th at 8 p.m. And so if you have any questions, comments, concerns that have arisen in the last month, please let us know. I didn't mention, but there are a couple candidates in the pipeline that we are very close to making an announcement on soon, but they're not quite ready to be announced just yet. So if you have any questions, comments, please let me know. Seeing none. Yeah, I've hit the end of my slideshow. We thank Lisa again for joining us, and we'll see y'all next month. Have a great night.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.